Part 2. Well, you know, on the international front, what you hear, what you don't hear, of course, won't bother you, and you will hardly ever hear anything in the U.S. mainstream media regarding what is going on in Europe as far as these austerity measures are concerned. In other words, you know, basically cutting back all social programs, workers' rights, just this whole thing that's going on there, which it's not being portrayed in the U.S. media as serious as it is, because people over there are actually fighting back. Now, in the end, they may not win this battle, but at least they're fighting back. While here, the people who are pissed off at their government are essentially going in the wrong direction, because they're not fighting for their rights. In fact, most of them are voting to have them eliminated entirely, you know. And I'm speaking mostly about the mostly deluded folks over that are involved with the Tea Party movement, because what they don't seem to realize is that it's not the government per se that is doing everything to them that they think they're doing. What is happening is who controls the government. And the government is controlled by big, huge multi-corporations. And at least some of the Europeans, the regular folks, you know, on the street, understand that much. They know what those battles involved, and it has a long history over there. And so, no, of course, you're not going to see huge protests being broadcast in the U.S. media here, because that might actually encourage some people over here to do the same thing. Okay, moving on to some domestic things here in the United States. Two items in the news in particular. And I want to talk about the issue today regarding this gay student who took his own life because he was harassed and because he was vilified and hated and had nobody else to turn to, and who was essentially bullied by a bunch of stupid assholes, as far as I'm concerned. And with that in mind, I want to bring up the subject of the death penalty. Now, I'm, for the most part, an opponent of the death penalty, because too many mistakes have been made in this direction of justice. Okay. There are some instances where I will wholeheartedly support it. These cases are very far and in between, and this one wouldn't be one of them. These are misguided young people who are basically just growing up themselves, and who knows what their own backgrounds were. And I'm not trying to make excuses for them in any way, shape, or form, because what they did was absolutely horrific. You know, to humiliate somebody else in public and then to have fun with it in order to entertain your friends is not something I will ever support under any circumstances. But there is perhaps a solution to this, and it probably won't come through the U.S. justice system, by the way. If these two young people who were responsible for this can be brought to understand that what they did was wrong by being essentially forced to talk to this young man's family members, to see, to get in touch with the community that supports this person, to where they get an inkling of what they have done without being pushed into a corner. That may work, it may not work. That, nobody knows. But in this case, I would not support the death penalty for these two bullies, because there is still a chance that they might be able to turn their own lives around into a more positive direction. A very different case, and I don't know all the details. I'm just repeating what I heard in the news, and some of the details I read about it was this horrific case that came to trial in Connecticut regarding this home invasion, where this whole family, mother and two daughters, were essentially brutally killed and murdered, and torture, the whole thing, setting the house on fire. It's just, the details are just too horrific to even go into, okay? And then this father, having the one who survived this ordeal, having to sit through this trial with these monsters, and that's what I would call them, monsters. And some justice at least was served by the conviction of the first monster, I would call him, because I think these people are not 18 years old anymore. They're way beyond reform. They're beyond any kind of they're beyond being left to themselves within our society. Let's put it this way. And if for some reason one of the two or both of them get out on appeal with this kind of horrific thing on some technicality, then I'm sorry. That is not worth taking the chance. It's just not worth taking the chance because they will pose a continuous danger if they ever get out, Now, granted, I'm not sitting on the jury. I didn't hear all the evidence and all of this, but that's just, this is totally beyond the pale. And so in that case, based on what I have heard, okay, these two should get the death penalty. I'm not the kind of person who goes an eye for an eye, so I would never support in any way that these people should be treated the same way that they treated their victims. Because once you go down that road, we are becoming the monsters. So that's, that's non-negotiable for me. So I would say these people should get the death penalty. Let's get it over with. And they don't deserve to live, basically. It was sort of like that Charlie Manson thing, and there are some things, no matter which circumstances brought this about, which are just completely beyond the pale and cannot be tolerated by society. So yeah, in that case, and I do this rarely, I would say enough is enough. Now, there are many, many cases like this. This is just one that is being broadcast in the news. I'm sure You know, if this had happened to a poor family, you know, under similar circumstances, and you know, they didn't have the kind of media coverage that was going on, it's all forgotten. You never hear about it. And I'm not the kind of person, you know, vigilante type asshole, you know, like I don't know, like just take the law into your own hand. But seriously, when I looked at those purported facts that I've read so far, I really am not sure how I would have reacted as the surviving family member, because, you know, at some point you've had enough and you lose your mind. Anyway, don't focus on my 2 videos, because this is basically, I'm talking about what I hear about, okay? The more important shit is what is all being left out in our media. Stuff we never hear about. That's the important stuff that we should try getting a handle on and researching. Good night.